Call to order the Ashland Board of Commissioners meeting for Thursday, March 28, 2024. We'll start with an invocation, then Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Father, we are thankful for our city today. We're thankful for this season of Holy Week as we look forward to this Sunday, as we celebrate the resurrection of your Son and our Savior, Jesus the Christ. As always, we ask for your Holy Spirit to enter our chambers and preside over our meeting. We ask that you give this board of mayor and commissioners divine wisdom and guidance as we strive to make the right decisions for our city and in the best interest of our citizens. Be with our city manager, our staff and employees, and those in attendance today. We pray always in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion to receive and file the agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion to, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
We have a motion to receive and file the minutes for the regular meeting held on February 22nd, 2024. The recess meeting held on February 23rd, 2024.
Go ahead.
And the called meeting held on March 1st, 2024, and the regular meeting held on March 14th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, hearings and reports. First off, just want to welcome everybody to our meeting today. We have, again, a lot to go over, and I ask Commissioners, if you would make your comments brief, but I want to wish a happy Easter to everyone. We do have an Easter event coming up, and I'm sure some of our commissioners here may expound on that, but I am going to turn it over first to welcome with Commissioner Spriggs.
Oh, hello, everybody. Well, it's good to see a lot of people here. I want to say welcome to little Ella in the audience. This is her first commission meeting, I think, so hello, Ella. I just want to say the Pogue Chapter of Daughters of the American Revolution is having the 8th annual Vietnam Veterans Appreciation Luncheon on Saturday at the Transportation Center. And a lot of work goes into this as we honor these heroes. We have nearly 200 people coming, so it's a wonderful thing. So I've been busy with all of that and the World War II wall and state conference. So other than that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, everyone. Yes, this is Ella Clark's first commission meeting. So. Hi. She's impressed, I can tell. Again, thank everyone for being here. As the mayor mentioned, the Easter egg hunt is on Saturday. How many eggs are we up to now?
78.
78,000 eggs in Central Park on Saturday morning. So bring your family, bring your kids, bring your dogs. No, joke. To come and hunt Easter eggs on Saturday morning in the park. I think that'll be a great time. Sorry, I'm waving now. Also, coming up, there will not be a First Friday in May due to the road construction. We will resume First Fridays in June, and the first Friday of this year is going to be epic, and I'll leave the details to Brandy to give. So thanks again for being here. We've got I want to say to you, Mr. Moore leaves this meeting, my favorite meeting of the year, where we vote on all the chemicals that have 42 letters in them. You have the honor, I think, the last 2 years of presenting these items.
He does that on
I
purpose.
hope you've been practicing.
That tradition dates back to when I was covering the meeting for Mr. Martin in his absence. So, and I've already read them once in the bid opening, so I'm ready.
Good deal. So,
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Commissioner Goode.
I just want to welcome everybody to this last meeting of March. We had, the governor was here last Tuesday, and we had 3 ribbon cuttings. One at reopening of Bellefonte Hospital, and ARC is taking that over. It was, and then 2 we had with Pathways, one on US 60 and one on 21st and Winchester. I just want to remind you about Repair Fair On May the 18th, we're needing volunteers. If you'll see DJ Reimer about this. This is a very good event that's always well attended, a good chance to volunteer. And we need volunteers Saturday, please. 78,568 eggs. I've been down there at the Roundhouse. I don't know how we're going to do it, but if you'll come out at 8 o'clock, if you just give an hour, I mean, there's going to be eggs from one end of that park to the other. And so we need all the help we can
I
get.
think we'll just be doing this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you. I also want to mention, exciting for 20,000 daffodils that had been planted all over our city, and we want to thank Norma Meek and Clark Wiley and the Kim Jenkins and the staff of our city, as well as many corporate sponsors and volunteers, the Garden Club, all making our city look really, really good this time of year, all over town, not just in one specific spot. So it was exciting for us. We got to thank those volunteers. I was a server, Commissioner Goot was a server, Commissioner Blanton was a server, our city manager was a server, and we had pretty good press coverage. I think my bald spot made the most press coverage in the newspaper. But, you know, we don't always have an opportunity to thank everybody for the work that they do behind the scenes, and it took a lot of man-hours to get that done, and we are very, very appreciative. I also want to mention something very exciting for this commission. Commissioner Clark has been a champion for this through our committee that we've formed, and this whole commission has been dedicated to seeing the dream of a conference center come to fruition. And I want to currently tell you that we're moving along slowly but surely. We have so far some good news. The state legislature has so far put it in their budget. Right now it looks to be $25 million. Commissioner Clark is watching as we speak to see if they're going to vote on that matter today, but it would be a huge boon to our region to have this conference center. We're the largest city in eastern Kentucky, yet we have no conference center. Pikeville is half the size, and they have a conference center. I think it's critical for our economic development. I'm appreciative to Governor Beshear, Special Advisor Rocky Adkins, our city manager, of course, the leadership in the House and Senate, specifically our local leadership, Senator Webb, Representative Sharp. All of those folks are doing all they can to see this through, and it will benefit not just Ashland, it's going to benefit our region, which is what we want. We're a hub for so many, and so I'm excited to see this project come through, and $25 million could be the largest earmark in our city's history from the state. We also have a $4 million earmark thanks to Hal Rogers. That's in the federal budget that just passed. We are grateful to his leadership. Again, this is money that we don't have to pull from our local tax base. This is coming from federal and state funds. Huge, $30 million potentially during this commission's term. I think it says a lot about how we're focused on trying our dangdest to get as much as we can from leadership above us. We want our city to thrive, we want our cities to succeed, and we want our community and region to survive. And I think with some of the announcements that have been made in the past couple of weeks, it's a very exciting time to be here. With that, we'll turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just since you made that comment, I really want to thank the staff, and there's no one particular director to thank on this, but you'll see some more of the grants on today's agenda that we're requesting, both from the federal and the state and local. And the staff has just done a magnificent amount of work that goes into that, because there's a lot of paperwork and administration that goes with that, and they've just done a really fantastic job, so thank you to the staff. Just two very quick announcements. A couple meetings ago, a gentleman named Mr. Lewandowski had approached the dais in regards to reviewing the golf cart ordinance, and I want to report back that both the police department and the legal have reviewed the golf cart ordinance and do not recommend any adjustments to that. They recommend they remain as is, which is also my recommendation. And then the second thing you mentioned in regards to the downtown construction, what you're going to see over the next couple of weeks, the next major muscle movement will be approximately the 22nd to the 29th of April. They're going to work on the roundabouts at 17th and 18th Street consecutively, simultaneously, like as they did before. with the 15th and 16th Street. But what you'll see up to that point is really a buttoning up of everything that's ongoing right now. I'd be insincere if I was to try to portray that we thought it would be this massive across the whole width of the city. As we briefed in this meeting before, we've done that to try to expedite the project. We think it is going to be done, at least this portion of it is going to be done a month to a month and a half earlier than it would have been if we would have done the block-by-block approach. So I cannot express enough thanks to the patients, to the business owners especially, and also our citizens. But we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Once that portion gets done, we'll branch out into the streetscape that will go from 7th Street to 12th Street and from 18th Street to 21st Street. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. I do want to beg my commission's forgiveness. I failed to put a gentleman on the agenda for a review. It's the CEO of the ARC Bellefonte Hospital Recovery Center, Mr. Jonathan Frazier. Are you here today, sir? Yes. I see you. Do you mind speaking today?
No problem.
Okay, and agreed to the time that we talked about? Okay. And I apologize, Commissioners. I meant to have that on the schedule for this round, but I failed to do that. But I do want to, before we have Mr. Frazier come forward, I do want to read a proclamation, and it's a pretty good one. It's for Women's History Month. And thanks to Commissioner Spriggs for making sure that we took care of this. Whereas throughout history, women have played pivotal roles in shaping the fabric of our society, breaking barriers or inspiring future generations with their remarkable achievements. And whereas in the city of Ashland, we take pride in our rich history and the contribution of extraordinary women who have left an indelible mark on our community. And whereas we also honor the legacy of Naomi and Winona Judd, Ashland natives whose musical talent and pioneering spirit have earned them a historic place in the Country Music Hall of Fame, bringing pride to our city and joy to millions of fans worldwide. And whereas we recognize the accomplishments of trailblazers like Jean Thomas, known as the Traipsin Woman, whose work as a folklorist and promoter of Appalachian culture earned her national acclaim, and whereas we pay tribute to Commissioners Amanda Holbrook Clark and Cheryl Wooten Spriggs, both of whom have made history as the longest-serving women in commission history, each in their fifth term of dedicated service to our city. And whereas the contributions of women in Ashland, past and present, deserve recognition and celebration not only during Women's History Month, but every day of the year, now I, therefore, Matthew Perkins, Mayor of the City of Ashland, declare March as Women in History Month in our city. And I call upon all of our residents to join me in honoring the achievements of contributions of women throughout history and to continue striving for gender equality and justice in our community and beyond. All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Commissioner Clark and I are the fourth and fifth commissioners out of only 5 women commissioners in the history of the city. So we're very proud of that, representing women and bringing abilities to the job. So congratulations.
You too. Thank you.
You both are forces to be reckoned with. Mr. Frazier, if you'd like to come forward. Oh, okay. Okay.
So, good morning. Hello, everybody. I'm Mickey Arvin, and I serve as the Patient Access Manager for Bellefonte Hospital and Recovery Center. I worked in, some of you guys are familiar faces. I've seen you. I worked in the court system here with Addiction Recovery Care in Greenup County and Boyd County for about 2 years. Then went to Pikeville, then got the opportunity to come back home. So, I'm invested in this community and the people, and I'm very grateful to be here. I wanted to leave you guys some brochures and my cards on the table. If you have any questions about Bellefonte or anything, please feel free to reach out to me. If you can't get a hold of this guy, I kind of can get a hold of him for you. So, but thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, Mayor, distinguished council members, community stakeholders. Thank you, Mickey, for that wonderful introduction, as well as sharing with the community. She is the one that bridges the gap, and it's very important that we have that someone that can take community stakeholders as well as anyone that has any questions or concerns about what we do. Mickey's the person that can help you, as well as myself. My name is Jonathan Frazier, and I affectionately call this the State of the Bellefonte. I presented this in Russell as well as in Flatwoods, and now Mayor, you graciously allowed me to present this brief synopsis of what we're doing at ARC and at the Bellefonte facility. Again, my name is Jonathan Frazier. I'm the community CEO, and I'd like to thank you and just give you some brief touch points on what we're doing and what we've accomplished within the last year. The first thing is, it's my job to ensure that we provide these three components, community, culture, and communication. Clearly, I want to be where the community stakeholders are at. I want to be able to support and answer those tough questions about what we are doing and what the future holds for ARC, as well as in the community of Ashland. We are fully licensed as of February 7th, 2024, as a 40-bed acute psych hospital, not to be aligned with the SUD or substance abuse portion. The first phase of what we're doing at Bellefonte is for psychiatric care. And so we want to make sure we share this with you. Thank you all for coming to our ribbon cutting last week, and the governor was gracious enough to come and share great news about what we're doing now and what he is going to be doing later with the community of Ashland. Some data points. Year to date, we opened up in November. We've had 79 admissions since November. We are staggering our census to ensure quality, as well as make sure our systems are in place to open our facility up to the 40-bed mark. We have 45 total staff members from this area. We are very proud to have at least 30% of our staff right now that were former employees of Bellefonte, so that is very important to note. Currently, we're in the renovation stage at Bellefonte proper. That is the SUD component, which will range to about 300 beds for substance abuse as well as psychiatric continuum of care services. That is not scheduled to open until about Q1 of 2025. We are putting our full concentration, focus, and resources into the psychiatric component, and I believe that will greatly increase the continuity of care in the community. From a safety component, we have affectionately called a task force, a local task force with Ashland, Russell, as well as Flatwoods, first responders, and our police force, and they respond to any incidents or concerns that we have. We are happy to say there's been no major incidents since our opening, and Ashland's police force has been tremendous in their first responding. Any questions? I want to be brief, but any questions that you might have for me in regards to the Bellefonte project?
Well, first off, number one, I appreciate you coming to address the commission. You're right, we want to hear from our folks that are working in substance abuse and mental health, and I think it's important that you coming here to explain what's going on helps us better understand and address concerns and questions in the community that they may have about such things. We've talked about this often. You and I have had private conversations as well, but mental health is a very, very important issue, and I have addressed it with you privately. I know that I've talked about this publicly in our meetings, but trust me when I tell you this is something I'm concerned about. Our commission is concerned about it. It's a national issue, so it really thrills me to see your agency, your organization come to our community to provide these beds that are so critical. There's always pushback when it's tough issues sometimes. But I think what you all are doing, what Pathways and other organizations are doing, all leading the way, are giving us the outcomes that we so desperately were hoping for. It was mentioned at Gerald's ribbon cutting that we're seeing a reduction now in overdoses, and I believe it's because of the hard work of Pathways and other organizations like ARC, doing the hard work to try to save our people. The next step for us, and there's a group of people here that will talk about this too, I'm sure today, but there's the path after people recover.
Sure.
Where do they go? Where do they work? Where do they live? These are all critical concerns, not just for our community, but nationwide. We have a housing issue, a crisis, if you will, and I'm hoping with ARC and Pathways as partners, we can look at ways that we can help those that are homeless, that those that are struggling with safe housing, and also permanent supportive housing.
Yes.
Those are all issues of concern to this commission, to me personally as mayor, and I think it would help alleviate some of the burdens placed on law enforcement,
Yes.
some of our local charities, if we have some of those holes in the net, safety net, if you will, closed. And I know that with you and others, we can partner together to make some strides. And I appreciate you coming
you.
forward today to address us. Look forward to seeing you more often in the community.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
you.
All right, now we're going to start public participation. Anyone with a comment or request may come to the podium and address the commission concerning matters related to city business, services, or personnel. Comments related to election issues or concerning personal disputes will not be allowed. Personal attacks, obscene or threatening language will not be tolerated. Presentations are limited to 5 minutes. Only one speaker is permitted per subject. No action will be taken at this meeting. Those with comments are asked to fill out the inquiry form and leave it with the city clerk for distribution to the proper city department. At this time, would anybody like to come forward? Welcome.
Hi there. My name is Tiffany Ardoin, and I live at 520 Long Street here in Ashland. I moved 9 months and 7 days ago today from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which is a big change. I'm lucky enough to stay with my aunt, who has been here for almost 4 years. She wanted to get away from the big city of Denver, Colorado, and she found this amazing city to call home. We both fell in love with the small town feel coming from larger cities and how nice and amazing everyone is. We also love the location, where it's only a day's drive to get to so many beautiful places to go hiking and stuff. I will gladly love to call this place my forever home. But enough about me. I'm here with Kentucky's People Union to share our story and our values. KPU started knocking doors May of 2022 to identify main community concerns and hear people's hopes and visions for Ashland. The core issues we heard again and again were housing, the opioid epidemic, jobs, and healthcare. In December of 2022, 40 of us came together to collectively decide that housing was an issue we wanted to work on as an organization this year. For 6 months, we did research, continued knocking doors, and had dozens of conversations with housing experts across the state. We heard from people over and over again, housing is too expensive, it's hard to find, and we live in unsafe and poor conditions. In April of 2023, 55 of us came together to collectively decide to run a Tenants' Bill of Rights campaign to enforce and make public the rental registry, and to pass the Uniform Residential Landlord and Tenant Act. Since then, we've collected 800 petition signatures in support of our Tenant Bill of Rights. We've called and had meetings with all of the city commissioners, the city manager, community and economic development, as well as church leaders, community leaders, and business leaders here in Ashland. Today, the commission must determine the fate of the rental registry. Where other cities need to improve the housing quality, they turn to the rental registries so that they can manage the rental properties in the city. This includes rental regulations like code enforcement or rental licensing programs. Right now, the rental registry that currently exists costs landlord nothing in filing fees, which is very, very nice to the landlords. Currently, all the landlords have to do is fill out the registration and keep it up to date, just like you would for any business. We have mentioned before that the rental registry can be a way of sharing information with particular people that have an interest in helping others. For example, if Flatwoods had a rental registry, it could help the situation with the trailer park being demolished. Over 20 homes are being torn down and 11 families are trying to find a way to survive. The Ashland City staff asked for the rental registry, and we would like to invite you to reiterate why a complete rental registry as written would be useful. I know this is a smaller town than Sioux Falls, and I feel like everyone here knows everyone or they have some connection. But the registry will still help the nuisance ordinance, help with code enforcement, and help build actionable data to enforce the rental registry. Enforcement is affordable for the city. KPU understands that for the landlords, this is some, if not all, of their source of income. And we understand that there are good landlords and there are bad landlords. When talking about any topic, there are two sides to each coin. I'm going to stress that we aren't against landlords who are good to the people, and we are against the landlords who don't care about their tenants and their living conditions. Now I want to share a little bit about who we are in KPU. We're a local organization of members and of all backgrounds who volunteer their time because we are fighting for everyone to have a safe and dignified life. We are people who give up their extra time because we believe in making our own lives and the lives of everyday people in Ashland better. I personally am a caregiver for my aunt. But we also have healthcare workers, lawyers, teachers, unhoused members, therapists, servers, gig workers, flower shop employees, unemployed members, disabled members, young members, retired members, and so many more. I personally work 40 hours a week and possibly even more just to help my aunt off, even off the clock. But I am here on my day off and dedicate my extra time to be a part of KPU, and I try to do what's best. KPU has helped me become a better person and has helped me learn so many things. We are part of a coalition that's statewide that is doing work to increase affordable housing. I'm going to a training later tonight and this next coming weekend so I can build myself to be a better person. Please reconsider repealing the landlord registry. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to old business.
Old business item A, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris of 1825 Belmont Street in the amount of $5,800 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item B, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris at 4116 Hart Street in the amount of $3,800 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item C, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Lights Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of all labor, materials, equipment, and services for the demolition and removal of all debris at 462 29th Street in the amount of $27,950 for the Department of Community and Economic Development.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item D, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an access agreement between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Cleveland Cliffs Steel Corporation, Cliffs, allowing the City of Ashland access to property located at 23rd and Front Street as parcel 4 of the Norton landfill owned by Cliffs for the purpose of staging construction trailers and construction material for the expansion of the city's wastewater treatment plant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item E, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the City of Ashland and Republic Services, Inc., Green Valley Landfill, for the removal of and disposition of sludge from the City of Ashland wastewater treatment plant and water treatment plant for a period of 1 year in the amount of $295,680 for the Department of Utilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item F, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an amendment to the agreement for engineering services between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Bell Engineering, increasing the contract in the amount of $10,500 and increasing the time by 60 days for the Johnson Fork, Bowgis Drive, and Florida Street Water Booster Station Repairs Project for the Department of Engineering.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda.
A resolution of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting, authorizing, and approving the course of action presented by the city manager on the items appearing on the consent agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of City Commissioners of March 28th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I just want to make a comment. Who worked on these fiscal notes?
Michelle.
Well, Michelle, thank you. There's a lot that goes into these, and I think it helps us understand what we're dealing with in cost, and it's really important that the public sees this as well. So we appreciate your time and efforts on this. All in favor?
Aye.
New business, item A, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute Amendment Number 1 to the agreement between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and GRW Engineers, Inc. to provide engineering services in connection with the design, construction, and agency approvals of the 2022 Water and Sewer Capital Improvements Project for the Department of Engineering, increasing the contract in the amount of $9,855.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item B, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing, directing the mayor to execute and submit a grant application to the Cuyahoga Interstate Planning Commission for a surface transportation block grant in the amount of $50,000 for the Multimodal Transportation Center project for the Department of Engineering, and, if awarded, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute on behalf of the City of Ashland any and all documents associated with the grant and its acceptance.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I think just explaining what a multimodal transportation center project would be, I think this would give the public some insight as to what this commission's thinking about.
Thank you, Mayor. As part of the process, when we were doing the analysis, a request for proposal on the conference center, the RFP was very broad. It covered both the conference center, it covered garage, it also covered the operational aspects of a conference center. And as part of those discussions, I don't think she'll be embarrassed, Michelle Veach, and followed on also by Steve Cole, had mentioned that there is an extreme amount of money available, federal money, to do multimodal centers. And what we're talking about on a multimodal center would be something that city buses could operate out of. We could also have charging stations, areas for bikes, areas for the scooters. And as I like to joke and say, OPM, other people's money. This could be a way, in combination with the $25 million and the other funding that we're trying to look at, could expand our ability to do a more quality project if the multimodal center could be done with federal money. This $50,000 is just for the engineering of it. It's similar to the process that we did with the downtown. We didn't just pull out what we did. It was done through pre-engineering, then final engineering. So this would be the first step to taking a logical and methodical approach to looking at it. Please don't confuse this with a garage. My understanding from Michelle and Steve and Terry from Cuyahoga, thank you, do it every time. Every time, is that the feds will not pay for a garage, but we are going to look at some of the possibilities of, is this a foundation, a structure that we could build a garage on top of? So really it just opens up. I think it's a good example of the staff and the city doing our due diligence to see what's available.
And more importantly, of the 50,000, only 10,000 will be city funds because the rest is a grant match.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Item C, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a conditional commitment letter for a Kentucky Infrastructure Authority loan for the Ashland lead service line, sorry. Whew, and I'm not even to the chemicals yet.
That was the easy part.
All right, let's try again. First reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a conditional commitment letter for a Kentucky Infrastructure Authority loan for the Ashland lead service line inventory and assessment project in an amount not to exceed $874,130 for the Department of Engineering, and upon certain conditions authorizing and directing the mayor to execute on behalf of the city any and all documents associated with the loan.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Again, I'll say this. So we have an EPA edict that we have to take care of our lead lines. So I think everybody in this room would agree that's an important thing we must do. This is not just a loan, this is a forgivable grant. So what we'll get potentially out of this is free money again, so that we can investigate and find these potential sources of lead pipes and other stuff that we don't want our citizens drinking water from. So it's
Mayor, does
important.
this involve even households? Does it go that far to households? Because
It
we have a
does.
lot of old homes here.
I'd say this
Yeah.
nation has a lot of
Old homes.
lead lines that we have to
Yeah.
identify and find. So, but I'm glad we're doing it. And again, to the city manager's point, a lot of staff input and preparation for this, and I appreciate their hard work on this.
Mayor, if I may make one comment both on C and D. If you'll draw your attention to the bottom of the fiscal note, it talks about doing internal with staff coordination, management of both this and the next item that Corporation Council will read.
Yeah.
This was an effort to administrative costs on Kia, CDBG can be managed by the city, and that was the effort that the staff had looked at is, well, we can save this money. How we pay this money to administer these type of contracts is through the grant itself. If we were to manage this internally, we would be able to put all of that money towards the project. But after further consideration and also consultation, both with FiveCo and also state KIA, I'd recommend that we not do that internally. What you have in the ordinance and the attachments supports FiveCo administration of both of these grants, and that's my recommendation.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? I'll let-
Why?
In this case, FiveCo has done a tremendous amount of work for us already on this. They have the experience of doing that work. And when I spoke to, and I've really struggled with this, I've really struggled. But after the discussion with Sandy Lyles, the executive director at Kia, her recommendation is that they have the expertise to do that. There's less possibility of not meeting guidelines. They do an excellent job. They've already done an excellent job on the environmental work, for example. FiveCo in our case has been critical to getting this to this point. Not on this one. Well, I don't know, Mr. Cole would have to speak on what their work level has been on this project, but especially on the $44 million project. Mr. Cole, is there anything to add to that?
On the wastewater treatment plant, they have been working with the city for approximately 16 or 18 months already.
Already on it.
They're, seems like they're well invested already.
So do we pay them $131,000 to do that? Or what
It
is
it would
this
come out of the
saying here?
grant proceeds, correct?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Or the loan proceeds.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
okay.
So I appreciate the staff, and specifically, again, I don't want to embarrass Michelle. I think it's the type of thing that we think of as a staff and War Game. We don't always come to the same recommendations, but after the discussions, as I said, with FiveCo and Sandy Lyles, also actually I spoke to Corporation Counsel out at FiveCo also, Mr. Martin, who's got a unique perspective on this, and his perspective is he could see that both ways also. There's definitely pros and cons to both. But I think for the long-term sustainment of the project, I think this is the best recommendation. And as I said, it's reflected in the attachments and the ordinance. It already states that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item D, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a conditional commitment letter for a Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, KIA loan for the Ashland Enlarged Sewer Treatment Plant to eliminate overflows project in an amount not to exceed $78,400,000, of which the KIA loan shall provide $44 million for the Department of Engineering, and upon certain conditions authorizing and directing the mayor to execute on behalf of the city of Ashland any and all documents associated with the loan."
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
This really went up, didn't it? Increase. Is that due to inflation?
A lot of different factors on this, Commissioner. Ballpark, 7 years ago when I arrived, I think it was in the ballpark of $33 million. If we didn't know then what we know now, we might have pushed this in front of all the other CSO projects if we'd had a crystal ball back then. I think it's the supply chain, it's the cost of labor, it's everything that's associated with it. So the great thing about this is the fact, as I mentioned before, the staff work that they've done with Kia, FiveCo's work with Kia, I believe Mr. Cole and Ms. Veach, Tony Grubb, is this unprecedented total from Kia?
It represents the largest single that they've done in a significant number of years, and currently is above what their $20 million limit that they've set on these types of projects.
And so it's really, again, I just want to keep complimenting the staff on this. So we had the 20 million, we'd been on that waiting list for it as we continued with the final engineering. And then because of discussions with the staff, with Kia, and they realized that some communities couldn't execute their money at the end of the year. So what this other $24 million represents roughly is projects that other communities couldn't execute, so we're getting that money.
So what waiting list? The waiting list for the 78 million?
No, they
For-
tee up projects across the state for funding that goes out, and then they award those. So we were on the waiting list, if you will, for
Okay.
those funds 5, 6, 7 years ago to say, hey, we're going to eventually need this money. It wasn't obviously this total, as you'd mentioned, it's gone up exponentially. But because of constant contact with them and them knowing our conditions and the circumstances, so I think I hate to see the $78 million. I wish we could have done it for a lot cheaper. But we're in a better position to get that low-interest loan.
Well-
Also, if we don't use that all for some reason, you're going to see another item on the agenda where we're requesting additional federal funds, $3.8 million for a water line project. Again, a recommendation by the staff that said, well, if we get federal funds from this, then that $3.8 million we can put to other utilities and possibly this. So again, just trying to continue to maximize the
Well,
funding.
back when I was on commission in 2008 and 10, we put 25 cents on the water bill, and now it's accumulated by the taxpayers paying that. The taxpayers, let me make clear, in Ashland paying that we have $20 million. That is added up over these years. So that $20 million is available. Why is it 78 instead of 58?
There's 15, if you're talking the CSO charges,
Yeah, I'm
Commissioner?
talking about the $20 million that we have
There's-
in that fund that's been,
Is it 15 million?
Another loan. The project cost is 78 million. We'll have 20 million in cash. We'll have 44 million from KIA. We'll have the money from the feds, the 4 million. We'll have to do a bond issue for between 15 and 20 million, depending on what the bid comes
so
in.
what is the total cost of this project?
78
78?
million. Yes.
78 million, 400? Okay, so explain to me why we're getting a loan for 78 when we've got $20 million in cash to take off that amount?
Getting a loan for 44 million.
Okay.
We have 20 million in the bank. 24 million, depending on when we go to construction. And then we will also have to do a bond issue to make up the difference. So the cost of the project is 78 million.
Okay.
Maximize the amount of money KIA would give us at the lower interest rate.
Okay, so the loan's 44 million. All right, okay, sorry, thank you. I'm clear.
I understand where your,
Yeah.
where your head was.
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item E, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Brentag Mid-South, Inc. for the purchase of liquid caustic soda at the price of $1.1250 per gallon, powdered activated carbon at a price of $1.25 per pound, liquid chlorine at a price of $1,680 per ton, and sodium hypochlorite at a price of $2.04 per gallon for the Department of Utilities Divisions of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item F, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Sitco Water for the purchase of sulfur dioxide at a price of $1,075 per ton and sand at a price of 11 cents per pound for the Department of Utilities, Divisions of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item G, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Polydyne, Inc. for the purchase of liquid polymer for the water treatment plant at a price of $12.556 per gallon, and for the wastewater treatment plant at a price of $11.954 per gallon, and polymer cationic at a price of $1.94 per pound for the Department of Utility Operations Divisions of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item H, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Shannon Chemical Corporation for the purchase of potassium permanganate in the amount of $3.17 per pound for the Department of Utilities Divisions of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item I, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with Univar Solutions USA, Inc. for the purchase of hydrofluosilicic acid at a price of $3.50 per gallon for the Department of Utilities Divisions of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item J, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract with USALCO LLC for the purchase of aluminum sulfate liquid at a price of $1.5818 per gallon and polyaluminum chloride, PAC, at a price of $2.8215 per gallon for the Department of Utilities Divisions of Water Production and Wastewater Treatment."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I just want to mention, looks like the overall reduction in chemical costs this year is 10.6%. Is that correct, City Manager?
Yes, sir.
So we may see some inflationary pressures
Good news.
kind of easing finally.
And
All right.
just as a data point on that, if I understood finance and correctly this morning, 2 years ago it was shot up $300,000. Is that right?
I'm sorry, it was, yes.
So it feels good going down, but remember, it's painful
It's
as we
way
went
up.
back up.
Yeah. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Item K, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a service agreement between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Silversmith, Inc., DBA Silversmith Data, for the purchase of cloud-based software to be utilized for the collection and maintenance of information in support of the City of Ashland's asset manager position in the initial amount of $15,149 and an annual amount of $6,633 thereafter for the Department of Risk Management."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is this like inventory software? Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item L, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky repealing Ordinance Number 73, Series of 2021, which required registration of residential housing units within the City of Ashland."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Does this stop the penalty aspect as of April 1, or will that not be after?
Yeah, that's.
So even
this-
though we don't do the second reading before April 1st, there won't be a penalty?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I was gonna see if we needed to come back before then, but.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Item M, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to request fiscal year 2025 appropriations community funding through Congressman Hal Rogers' office in the amount of $3,800,000 for the Oakview Road Water Line Replacement Project for the Department of Engineering, authorizing acceptance of said funding if awarded, and authorizing and directing the mayor to execute on behalf of the city any and all documents and/or agreements associated with the appropriations request and acceptance."
So moved.
Is one of them the second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Item N, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a right-of-way consent for reclamation and abatement work between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and the Commonwealth of Kentucky and Environment Cabinet, Department for Natural Resources, Division of Abandoned Mine Lands, to complete exploratory work, reclamation, and any necessary maintenance activities on certain streets located within the city of Ashland, and authorizing and directing the mayor to execute on behalf of the city any and all documents associated with the Ashland North Subsidence Project.
So moved.
Second.
Felt like you struggled on that one compared to the,
He's like, caught me off guard.
you want to speak to that?
Yes, Mayor. So if you all remember, within the last year, the abandoned mine lands personnel from the state came down, and really they were getting ready to close their doors when they got an influx of federal funds. And so that influx of federal funds has allowed a project that they've been aware of, which pretty much centers Dixon Street, Chin Street, Old 13th, Iroquois, and that area, Pollard Road, Bush Street, Riggles Road. And there are abandoned mine lands, can't get it right. And what these are going to be exploratory digs. When they do these, they're going to drill, they're going to be in the middle of the road, they're going to drill down, they're going to see what exists there. That'll give them an idea if they need to do any mitigation measures. If I remember correctly, they had money for mitigation, would basically be putting fill into these. They'll also evaluate on individual houses. They've got a method for going to each individual house at the four corners, and they would drill on those. Of course, that would all be coordinated with the homeowners, and we'll make sure through our public affairs officer that we get word out when this drilling will be done. So it's just a bureaucratic process of this catching up, but it's a blessing to have the money from the Fed. So, and this is a project that they've been wanting to do. The state has, but they just didn't have the funds to get to it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Item O, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, adopting the revised job descriptions for the positions of Public Service Officer 1, 2, and 3 in the Department of Police of the Classification and Compensation Plan as adopted by ordinance number 31, series of 2023, as previously amended.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item P, reading and adoption of a municipal order entitled, A Municipal Order of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing the Ashland Fire Department to submit an application for the Kentucky Homeland Security Grant in the amount of $303,359.66, and if awarded, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute any and all other documents related to said grant.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item Q, reading and adoption of a municipal order entitled, A Municipal Order of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute and submit a grant application to the Commonwealth of Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet, Division of Abandoned Mine Lands, Economic Revitalization, AMLR, program to govern the construction of the Ashland Convention Center Abandoned Mine Land Economic Revitalization, AMLR, project, and authorizing and directing the mayor to execute on behalf of the city of Ashland any and all documents associated with the grant.
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Clark?
Just a comment about the AMLR grant and us seeking those funds. Again, it's money that we're not gonna have to pay back. And if we can get them, toward our conference center, then, you know, that's gonna be a great thing for us. And again, thanks to the staff for the time devoted to making sure those applications are completed.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could I say one more thing? With regard to the sewer plant,
Hang on.
Okay.
Let's finish this.
oh, I'm sorry.
All right. All in favor?
Aye, I'm sorry.
All right, now go ahead.
With regard to the sewer plant, you know, we try to provide our citizens with the very best services we can. This was not a capricious decision. The EPA has mandated us to do this. So we're boxed in a corner here, along with a lot of other cities, realizing this is a lot of money, but we have to do it. So just like we had to do those other CSO projects. And I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that.
Okay. All right. Any other new business at this time?
No, Mayor.
All right.
Sir.
Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, folks, we're adjourned. Thank
Happy
you so much.
Easter, everybody.